everybody, it's Colleen again with Colleen's Clay Addiction. It's been a while since I did a video, so I thought, hey, why not? It's Memorial Day for me today, but I figured, sure, why not do a video? So today I decided to do Remy from Ratatouille, another Disney character, shocker, right? I know. So it's gonna take this is probably about 3.5 to 4 ounces of clay. What I did here was I mixed slate gray along with this kind of bright blue. So it was kind of, it was about 2 for 1, like 2 ounces of the slate gray to about 1 ounce of this blue. And then I mixed in about 1 ounce of black. But honestly, this Clay Smart from Michaels, that black really looks almost more like a dark gray. If you look at his picture here, you'll see it's kind of almost a bluish gray. And if I know sometimes when I printed it, it distorts the colors a little bit, but this looks like a kind of a bluish gray. So that's the kind of color I was going for. That's why I added the blue in, just to give it a little bit of more depth maybe. Then for this pink nose and the ears, I've got this Sunset Pearl that we're going to use. We're probably only going to need a total of about 1 ounce, but what I'm going to do is, if you see, there's a lot of areas where it's lighter, so I'm going to try to go ahead and take 1 ounce and keep it the darker color for like the toes and the fingers, things like that. And then I'm going to take this other half an ounce, this other half an ounce, and I'm going to do a blend with the white so I can do his ears lighter. What I might do is try to do 2 small little barrel canes. The word's escaping me now. Anyway, do 2 of those little ones and then take this one and start from the middle and make the dark color and go the white to the outside so that it has the depth of color that I need. And then of course we're going to need white for the eyes and teeth. We're going to need black and a little bit of brown for the eyes. And then some black we're going to do the outlining areas. All right, so let me go blend up this Sunset Pearl and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So what I wanted to show you was I have 2 pieces of the blend, and I cut it in half first before I rolled them out so that I can roll one barrel from dark ending in light, and then I'm going to do the other barrel from light ending in dark. Because if you look and see here, his nose is light on the outside, dark on the inside, but his ears are dark on the outside, light on the inside. So that's what I'm going for. We're going to see if we can make that work. So we're back. I rolled the nose out, and there we have the size of the nose. I think that's going to be pretty good. I'm probably going to wrap it with a little bit of black before I go on. Anyway, to get started, I think we will, it's always this hard, top or bottom. I don't know. Let's go with the top this time. So first I'm going to do the ears, and this is what the ears are going to look like. I would say this one's a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do is cut it. So I'm doing this one at about 1.25 inches, this whole cane, the height of it, so that I'll have some room. And I gave myself a little extra room on that one because I gave it a little extra room in this compared to the size of the nose. And the reason I did that is because this ear is actually a little bit bigger than the other ear. Here he is. Isn't he cute? No. Anyway, so I want to go ahead and shape it the size of the ear. So I'm going to go do that and then I'll be right back. Okay, here we have the first part of the ear done. So with that done, I'm gonna try something new this time also. I'm not sure if it's gonna work the way I wanted to, but unless you try, you're never gonna figure it out, right? So if you look at these outlines on all of the peachy colors, his ears and hands and tail, it looks way more like brown than it does like black. So that being said, I decided to get some dark brown, and I'm going to do all the dark outlines on this with dark brown. And then I got some dark blue, which I may or may not mix with a little black when I get to the areas about his arms and things like that to darken that area up. But first we're going to cover this area here. Let's see, figure where I'm at. Here's where I'm at. We're going to cover around that with the dark color. And then we're going to come in here with a little tiny bit of the light color and another row of the dark, and same thing here. It's got light and dark. So what I might do is take a little thin, like a slice of this where it's light and dark for this side, and then compress it there to see if I can make that work. So I'll be back in a minute, let y'all know if it works, okay? And then we'll look at it. So I've rolled the brown out into the thinnest setting so that I can use that to cover. I sat the orange barrel on here, and I'm just gonna wrap it around, make a little mark where I can cut it off, scoop it up, and we're going to close that up really easily. Woohoo! I know, exciting stuff here. All right. You know, you don't have to be too absolutely perfectly exact on the very ends. I mean, I try to get it as close as I can to the ends, but whenever you shape out a cane, you're always, see, this is what an end looks like. So it gets all smushed and all discolored, and this end piece is not going to be usable anyway. So instead of having to constantly trim and closing it up, I mean, I like to keep a good idea of what my design's going to look like. But anyway, back onto the project. Okay, so now we've got it covered with the brown. I'm going to come over here with a little tiny thin piece of white, and then I'm going to cover it with another thin piece of brown, but just for this little area right here. So let me go do that real quick, and then I'll be right back with you. I'm back. I put the little piece of white on, and then I'm just going to take a little piece of, oh, that's maybe not big enough. Hello. Let's try maybe a little bit bigger. Put a piece of brown on to cover up the white, and there we go. All right. And we're going to chop this little bit of brown off here. Put it over there with our scraps, which, see, they're right there. I just make a stack of scraps, and when those get filled up, then I just go ahead and roll some more. All right, so here we are back with the ear on this side. Now we just need to do, can you see it? Yeah, it looks pretty good, I think. Now we just need to add this little piece. So I got this hot idea. Since it's just a little bit of white there, and then it comes to the peach, I cut the circle in half, the one that, let's see what y'all can see. It's hard to see through the phone and through y'all. Whatever. Anyway, okay, sorry about that. So that's the one we did for the nose. So I cut it in half, and I thought, you know, kind of the way that you can flatten it out to make petals for a rose. What if we just kind of flattened this sucker out, sort of turned it in on itself, reshaped it? We could even, can maybe take this one little spot here. I like my little short blade so much better. Take this one little spot here and kind of like there, it's kind of angled down. Whoopsie. So maybe we should do it this way. So maybe we can just angle that down like that. And with any luck, we'll be able to fit it right there. Hey, hey, I think an idea has happened. I like that. That's pretty clever, I think. Yeah, you'll have to excuse me. It's one of those days. Okay, I guess every day is one of those days for me, but. So now that we squished it down, I'm gonna trim the excess off. Then we'll come back, kind of have what we're looking for, and then we're gonna go ahead and cover this with a piece of brown. Dropping my blade, no big deal. Cut a piece of brown off here. Come over here and cover the pup. Of course, this time I make it too big, you know. But not really that much too big, I guess. Okay, so one ear down and one to go. We are making progress, folks. There we go. Let's see about that. You can't really see. Not that it really matters that much, but anyway, when it's down, when it's reduced, you'll see that white part. But there you go. There's ear piece number 1. So, okay, I think we're making some progress here. Now we're going to go to ear piece number 2, and we're going to go once again to our circle, and we're going to cut it to about the length we're going to use. And then we're going to reshape it into this kind of shape here. And this one looks like it mostly just has the darker color. So hang on, let me be right back. Here we go. Okay, I squished this ear around a little bit to kind of conform it to the size we want. I think that's a pretty good size or a pretty good shape for what we want. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in the brown. And then this little section right here, I'm just going to use a little piece of the Dusty Pearl Sunset, I think it is. Anyway, that color, and then put the brown right there. So it's just a little hint of color in between the 2 brown strips. This one is a little bit darker here, but I'm just going to let that be the shading here. I'm not going to do anything with it. So I'm just going to cover this, again, cover this whole area. Here we are. This whole area with the brown, put a little tiny pinch of straight sunset, and then cover that section with brown, and then both ears should be done. So I wrapped it all with brown, put the little strip of sunset pearl right there to mimic that. Now I'm going to cover it with the brown. Eesh. And now, my friends, we have 2 ears. Yay, we're getting somewhere. Not sure where, but somewhere. Okay, I'm gonna cut that off. Put that over with the scraps. And flip them upside down because that's how I like to work. So when you see I've got here, and I've got here. Now the next thing I'm gonna make, actually the next thing I'm gonna make are his eyes. And then with the eyes set in place, it'll be a little easier to put the grayish blue around here to get a better fit. So to do the eyes, it's gonna first be a tiny, small, just a little small roll of black. I'm gonna cover that with a super thin brown. And then I think his eyebrows are really more brown than they are peachy colors. So I'm gonna make his little eyebrows brown too, but that's getting ahead of myself. So I'll cover this with brown. Then you wanna put another layer of black. Should we put black? Should we not? We'll see how thick it looks like once we get the black and the brown. All right, BRB. If you look at the 2 eyes, this one is about 3/4 of the way around, the brown that is. So I wrap this one about 3/4 of the way around. This one is only about halfway around. So because it was so small, I figured it would be easier just to wrap it the whole way. Then literally take the line where I connected the brown, and literally just cut it in half. There we go. Now I got a perfect half to work with. Perfect. Hopefully. Okay. And so this half can go over into the scraps. And this half is going to get covered with white. Again, this one, which we're going to flip over to, is about 3/4 of the way around. And I'd say this one that was half is about 2/3 of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and make the white. I'm going to say that the white's probably like rolled out at a 1 because it's fairly thick. So I'm going to roll it out as a 1 and see how much that covers. Be right back. At this point, it looks like my eyes are pretty much right on target. Let's see if you can see that where they should be. Pretty much right there. And right there. Yep, I think that's pretty much how it should be. This one I might trim up just a tiny bit by angling it, like so. Make it a little more in line with the angle and thickness it is. That might be a little bit better. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this with black and then come and put these brown eyebrows above it. If you take a look, you can see I've got the eyes done. I got the eyebrows on. Now I'm gonna cover the eyebrows with some black, and then we'll flip it around and start working in to fill in this grayish blue. Just give you a quick update. The eyes were a little bit too long for the length of the cane, or the height of the cane. So anyway, I snipped them a little bit off, but I put them by the eyes, and I think they look pretty good. I think that's a pretty close likeness to what we're trying to go after. So now that we've got the eyes done, we already had the nose rolled out. I'm going to take some black and this dark blue here and some black, and I'm going to mix the two of them up and see if I can't come up with a kind of a bluish black color to highlight and go around the nose. Okay. Okay, on second thought, I change my mind a lot, I know, but it's part of the creative process. That's the way I look at it anyway. I decided not to use that blue I had pulled out earlier because it had the sparkle glitter in it. And since none of the other clay has the sparkle glitter, I didn't want it to look weird with the outlines and just some random sparkles. So I had this kind of like dark royal blue. I'm gonna add that with the black and mix it up and see what we know how well you can tell in the light. But mixing that black and that kind of dark royal blue, it gives it a nice, like, definite navy bluish color, and I really kind of like it. So I'm going to go ahead and thin this out all the way as thin as I can, so that'd be on a 9, and then I'll be right back. Okay. Here I am back with his nose, and it's all covered up, and we've got the ears, and we've got the eyes done. So what we want to do, put all these together, sort of building a little puzzle. Sometimes I have to remember which way it all goes. It can be confusing, but anyway. Okay, so looking at that, I would say that around the eye area, I probably am gonna reduce it to a 2 and try to cover around the first eye, and then come back and see how much area that takes up, and then based on how much of the space in between the two, then I'll start covering the second eye, and we'll see where we are. All right, just to show you what's going on here, I covered the first eye, and when I did that, actually, by the way, I ended up rolling it out on a 3 because this area here wasn't really very big. So when I rolled it out here, it made it all the way over, oops, there we go. Made it all the way over to the end of that ear, but it also made it where I could just butt up the other eye against that one. So because of that, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna angle this like that for when I stick it in here. And I'm gonna make, those are my scraps over there. And I'm gonna make one little piece that goes this way. So I'm gonna kind of angle it down there, preferably without it sticking everywhere. This is a little bit sticky clay. All right, and I'm gonna shove that corner in there so it can go all the way in. And then I'm gonna work it over here, if you can see that. Whoa, hey, stay in there. You see that? So it comes all the way over here. Let me get that first piece taken care of there. Chop that off at the top. Put that with my scraps. Make sure that gets shoved in all the way. Because while this piece is touching the blue, this piece, you want to make sure that the blue is solid in that area. And then I'm going to come in and make another triangular piece. So I've already, let me do another one anyway. So I'm going to do it at an angle. I'll cut that piece at an angle. And then I'm going to have this one taper off like this. So this angle is also going to go shove in here. The best way I can do that, which is kind of difficult to do, especially when you have soft clay. And my watch band sticks to it. That's great. Okay. So with that in place, and without my watch band sticking to the clay, just move that there momentarily. Alrighty. We're going to cut this little extra piece off here. We're going to push this in together and see what we're looking like here. Okay, I think I'm going to need to turn it around. So normally, by the way, the reason that I generally speaking, when I work from the top to bottom or bottom to top, and I work upside down, is so that I'm not getting lost in what the picture is. Kind of like when you proofread something, if you actually read it backwards, you can actually proofread the words, but if you read it forward, you know what it's supposed to say and you kind of miss something. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's dumb, but that's just the way I do it. So, okay, here in the front, we've got this. Plus, I also can't see exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to need a little thin line of blue, and I think I'm going to go more like a, maybe like a 4 or so right here. And I'm going to put one more little blue line to go right there to the edge. And I'll be right back. So I got the eye pieces done here, but what I'm noticing is that it's kind of light up here at the top. So I can do one of two things. And I think actually this might be easier. See this little line that gives the crease like the middle of his head? I'm gonna go ahead and separate this a little bit, and I'm gonna put a little bit of that dark navy blue line in there to give you that crease line. So let me do that, and then I'm gonna come right back. I also, along the bottom of here, I wanna put that dark blue to highlight the eyes. I'll try to do this for you so you can see. So you wanna cut a piece in there, and you wanna kind of separate it. Oh, of course, and my piece just ripped, because why not? Okay, looks like I have a whole piece now. Now we're gonna come down here and stick this one piece in, just like this. And then once you get that in there really well, then you can close it right back up. And let me snip this little piece off. You can see you got your perfect little line right there. So here's what we have so far. We've put them all together. We've made the little line for like his head. Next, we're going to put this blue here because we already have, where's his nose? Yeah, here's his nose. We already have his nose here. Nope, just kidding. Here's his nose because we already covered it in the dark blue. So we've got his nose here, and we want to fill in the blue area. You can see the blue area around here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to fill this blue in, and then push up the nose again. I want to show you all this real quick. So it kind of went in between the two eyes, sort of made like a V, a little triangle. So before I take a piece on this thickest side to more even this out a little bit, I decided to go ahead and fill that triangle in with another piece. By the way, I keep saying blue. I really mean the grayish color, but on my picture he's blue, so that's why it keeps making me say blue. Sorry if I'm confusing you. Maybe I'm confusing myself. I'm not really sure. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to cut that piece right there. We can put in, I keep taking the wrong nose. Move that one over there. We can put in his nose right now. There's his nose. He's kind of starting to look like something, don't you think? I do. I'm hoping maybe. Okay, so there's his nose. And we are just going to go, I'm actually going to take this piece, this thick piece, and I'm going to fill in around his nose. What I do to try to close up this little triangular area here is I just, is I just push this in really well so that there's not a real gap, and push it around. I'm going to cut this off so that I can, again, push it in the gap. And that leaves me with that. So it's going to leave me just like a really skinny piece that goes around his mouth here. Yeah. So I have this other one that I rolled out from earlier, and it's a rolled down to like 3, and then that should about fill it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap that around his nose. I'm gonna pack this in here, and then I think what I'm gonna do at this point is cut this off here, and then I'm gonna stop for a second, and I'm gonna make his mouth. And in order to make his mouth, we're gonna do his teeth, this dark blackish blue inside of for the dark part of the mouth, then make his lips, and then his mouth will be done, and then we can finish filling the rest of it. So I added this one little piece, and then I went ahead and made his teeth. So to make this teeth, you just take the white, it's about like maybe a 3 that I rolled it down to. You split it right down the middle. You put the thinnest piece you can of the dark, which is the bluish black color, and you put that in there, then squeeze the teeth back together. And then the other thing you have to do is this tooth is a little bit shorter, so what we want to do is just slightly, just like shave that down the least little bit. Let's see if that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So just a little bit, and then actually it goes this way, so it goes up just a little bit. His teeth are still a little bit wider than they should be, I feel like. Let's see. Yeah, maybe you have to cut a tinge off of each end. So let's just cut a little smidgel. I don't think that's the exact terminology for it, but it sort of is in my world. Let's see what we're at now. So that's the shorter side. Yeah, maybe just a hair off that side. Another smidgel. That's a smidgel. Just kidding. That's probably one of my mom and dad's favorite words. Okay, here we go. So that's where his teeth are going to go, right there. But before I add them, there's just this one little piece. I'm not sure how well you can see that. The light's kind of weird on it. It's just this one little piece, because this side of his mouth is a little bit bigger than that side, because he's kind of making a little sideways smirk. So with that, the ears are there, the ears are in place there. And then, so we're just going to angle this one little piece here. I'm also going to cover 3 of the 4 sides, because I'm just going to pop these teeth right on this blue part here. And let me go cover these teeth. Put this extra piece of the gray here, and then we'll come back and see what that looks like. Okay, so his teeth are there. I put that extra piece there. Now, I'm going to stuff this middle with the dark bluish black, but before I do, I want to make this lip line and cover the outside of it, so I'll know when I go to put it in there exactly how much of the darker mouth fill in that I need. But I think that this pink is a little bit pinker than it should be for his lips, so I'm just going to put this little smidge of brown. You can see it's really, I mean, just a really small amount to give it a little extra color. I'm going to go stick that through the pasta machine a couple of times, and then I'll be back and show you the color it came out. So I took a piece for the lip. I like the brown, by the way. It's just a little bit darker, which is exactly what I was going for. In retrospect, I might have done the eyebrows that way, but oh well, it's too late now for that. So moving on. Anyway, when you put it closed, you can see that there's a little bit of a triangle spot here and here and a little bit of space. So all I'm going to do is stick a little bitty piece of the blue in here, just at the top part, and then right in front of the teeth. So almost completely rewrapping the teeth, but not quite. So let me go stick that in there. I'll be right back. So you can see, can you see? Yeah, kind of close up. That I just put a little piece in here, a little piece in there, and then I took this piece and I sort of tapered the ends off, so it made it sort of a hump, because if you look at his smile, it just makes his mouth go down a little bit. So I push that across there, just squeeze off the end, And then this is, that's actually the right side. So then we're just gonna make his little mouth stretch over and connect it right up to the top there where his mouth goes. And he's looking pretty cute. Here we go. So that being said, I'm only gonna need one more little row here. I think I'm going to put an outline here of the dark blue, and then I'm going to put a couple more rows and make an outline here so that you can see the definition of his face before we get down to working on his body. So I've been studying this a little bit before I do it. I went ahead and added a little bit to his cheek to make it a little puffier on this side, because if you look, it kind of has a puffy cheek, and although he looks a little cockeyed with his eye here, I think, whatever, it's a better cheek. But I'm gonna do this one and not outline around the edges. Just gonna keep it the gray around the edges like I did here on the top. And in doing that, I'm only gonna add the highlight of his face on the inside here. I'm not gonna go all the way to the outside because I want it to be straight gray. So it's gonna come just like from here. Can you see that? It's gonna come from here to there. And then on this side, it's only gonna come like, it's only gonna come, where are we? Like just here and here. So you can see that that's his face. And then the rest of this will start his body. Just a real quick point to show you here. Sometimes, so this is the side we've been working on, and pushing down on the clay like this one right here, it gets a little distorted. Sometimes when you look on the opposite side, that's when you see the really good picture. So you get a better idea of how it's really coming along without the distortions. Also, the other thing I've picked up over time doing these clay canes, especially the character ones, is once I'm finished an area, like I'm finished with this top of the head, I'm going to reshape this a little bit because he's gonna kind of get a flat head and it's supposed to be a little more rounded. And that's what happens sometimes when A, your clay is just a little squishier than you'd like. And then B, when you start working on it and pushing and manipulating it, then it kind of makes it a little bit funky shape. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and fill this area in with the translucent, and that way it won't lose its shape. I did add the dark blue here. I'm about to add it just right here in this area. And then I'm going to fill the translucent in here and here. And that helps to keep the shape of the ears from really getting too distorted. So as best as it is, his face is all done. I put the translucent around his ears to keep his face from distorting too much, hopefully. The next thing I'm going to do, since we're close to his arms, so that I can see you can see that it's really his arms. So this end's just gonna stick out, but I'm gonna make his arm now. But what I'm gonna do for the inside is put the dark when I'm finished it so that you can see that it's his arms and you get the definition of it, and put a little bit of definition there. So I'm gonna go work on the arms right now, which is just gonna be a matter of putting a couple of rows of the gray around, and then putting the inside wrap of the dark black. Alrighty, here we are back. I've got the arm made, and as we talked about, I did not do the outside outlined, but this little spot here, which is going to be followed by more of the gray, I did put that line here, so you'll see where the end of his arm is. And then I also put the dark blue black inside here, so you see the definition of his arm. Then I started over here because I kind of forgot I was videoing. Sorry, it's been that kind of day. Anyhow, so I'm coming over here. I put the blue, I started with the inside one, and I put the blue inside of here first. And then I'm going to come back out here and fill out this one, and then we'll go do the same thing. We're only going to put around here just the part that the arm is not out on the ends. So like from, if you can see it from like maybe this point where you see it here, like right there all the way around. And then that way this outside part will still be along the outside edge where it's just going to be gray. Okay, here we are back with the second row on his arm. Now I'm just going to take it from maybe here and go to the end of his arm. So it's a little bit too tall. And then across, that might not be exactly right. So I'm just gonna go and add this little strip. I guess I cut it a little bit short because I don't really measure this stuff. I sort of eyeball it mostly, and I guess my eyeballs are off sometimes. So I put my eyeballs back on, and that's what we came up with. All right, so there's the two hands. I don't think I'm going to put a solid line because it's kind of like his fur is going on to his little paws, hands, whatever you call them. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this little peach hands. And in between each one's for the little digits, we're going to put some of the brown, the thin brown. And then I think we'll outline it also with the brown so you get a distinct look at that. And then we'll be able to fill in this area with the gray. In fact, if we want, we can even fill in too about right here where this hand is. I don't know if you can see that. Hang on. See where this hand is? So like this much of it we can fill out, and then we'll put the hand in and then kind of stuff in the rest of what we need. Okay, so I went ahead and filled this up in here, almost to the paws. And before I do that, I just think I really like the shade of this with a little bit of brown. However, it's probably supposed to be a little lighter than that. So I'm going to add some of this brown, but then I'm also going to take one of these, maybe like, I don't know, maybe like this little piece of scrap that's got some white in it. And I'm going to add that in with it too to lighten it up. And see, I'm not putting a whole lot of brown. And just putting a little bit of white in there. See if that makes a difference. Hopefully it'll whiten it up. I'm going to go stick that through the pasta machine a few times, get it mixed up, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Couple of things. So I went and rolled this, and it did come out a little bit lighter, which is cool. But then I started thinking, you know, I do have a couple of these pieces left over. What if I squished them down and made them fingers? So, where is it? I did that. Where did I put it? Here it is. I do sort of know what I'm doing, but there we go. And there's going to be my fingers. And I think that's going to kind of hopefully give me what I'm looking for. So I'm going to cover this one in brown and then put the other piece on. And then I'll probably take this lighter one and sort of squish that across and make that the top piece so that it's kind of highlighted. And I'm hoping that's going to be the effect that I want. I don't think this one is as white looking. This one's a little bit darker. So I might just go with the darker piece across it, or I might just go with a straight piece like this. So I'm going to work on this one first and finish putting the fingers on and come back with that. Let me see what you think. All right. So for this piece, I went ahead and cut in half the one that we made for the ears with the white in the middle. And actually I cut it in like a third, but I took a piece of it, sliced it up. I stuck it on here by the paw. I'm going to put the brown here for the outline of the hand, and then I'm going to attach it to his arm. I think it's going to be pretty cute, but you know, there we go. So you guys can decide if you think you like that. If you don't, then you can do like I said before and just put this in there. But I think this is kind of gives it kind of a pawish look. Now I'm going to work on the other one. I think I'm going to do it pretty much the same way, except it's mostly dark up here. So I think I'm probably just going to go with this darker color when it gets to what's right by his fur. Okay, so with the first hand on, I'm making the second little paw, which is just about right, except for this one's got his little thumb showing. So I took a piece of this, the white and the edges. And honestly, it's going to be slightly different from one to the other when you cut the canes, but I don't think it's going to be all that noticeable. Anyway, we'll take mostly the dark end, so we'll cut what we don't need off of the white end. So let's of it this way. And we'll put this little piece go in. Actually, it's gonna kind of go up here like this. You can see. So what's gonna happen is, yeah, see, almost all that white's cut off, so not such a big deal. Anyway, what's gonna happen is when we put that piece across here, this color across here, then that thumb is gonna come up on there. So what I need to do is add about that much, a little skinny slice of the dark brown, so that you'll be able to see that little thumb digit contrast against the piece of this that we're going to use. So we're just going to cut off a piece of that real quick. Cut off a piece there, and I'd say it's only going to be about that wide. And then we'll come in and we'll kind of push it in here, kind of shape it up in there. Oh, we're also going to need to put a piece of brown on the outside since we covered the outside of his other hand. So I'm going to take a piece that's probably a little bit too wide, but that'll give me a little bit extra to work with. And we're going to wrap that across there. Then I can actually come and take this piece that was too much, cut it off here where I'm done with it, come over, flip around, and this little end piece of this dark stuff, yeah, let's just do it this way. I'll come and put it onto there. So now his whole hand is outlined. And this is going to be too much here. Hi. So we're going to cut that off. And a little bit of that pink is still sticking out. So we're just going to kind of rub this brown on it to blend it in. There you go. If for some reason you don't have quite as flexible a clay, just take another little slit of brown and put it on there. All right, now we're coming back over here, and I'm going to put these in place. This hand's already done with this arm. This hand's just about to be done. However, if you look at this, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. If you look at this, see if I can get it to a good light where you can really tell. There's this one little bit of the gray that's in between the two paws. Now it's going to be kind of hard to get in there if I've already put the paws in place. So before I put that second paw in, I'm going to, this one's already angled on this end, and I'm going to shove it in here. And then I'm going to push it down. And actually I'm just going to come really and wrap it around this paw, because ultimately it's going to be covered because it's going to be the rest of his body. So that's really not going to matter at the end of the day. So we'll come and cover this piece here. You don't have to be perfect at that because we got a whole bunch more to smush on there. And that's the technical term, smoosh it on there. All right, so now we can shove this little paw here, and though they're different colors, we're gonna see when it's reduced down. This little paw should be turned in a little bit more, like, oh, you know what? Here's a problem. Hello, it's upside down. Just kidding, folks. That's the thumb, and that's supposed to go up there. No wonder it seemed off. Hey, look, much better. There you go. And it was meant to be, right? Right. All right, so now we have that. We have this little bit of black. I got some squishy clay here I have a bad feeling about, but we're working with it. I'm gonna make his paw quite so pointy, so we'll smooth that out a little bit. Make those paw spots here. And then we're gonna come back and finish up filling in. I wouldn't be surprised if, let me just zoom back out. Oh, hey, sorry about that. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the day, I have to make a little bit more of the gray, because this is all the gray I have left, and we still have his legs to do. Hopefully it might be just enough. If not, it's not, and we go from there. So the next spot, the next portion is to just go finish filling in. See how things bend like that? Okay, the next portion is going to put this one here, and you're going to want to start it real thin. You're going to taper it. Let's see if you can see that. You're going to taper it really, really on an angle, because this is really thin up here, but you want to be able to cover where the line is for his arm, because we don't want any of the dark part sticking out. We want just gray around the edges, because we're going to try and see how that works out. And there we go. We're building him up. And I think I'm going to do the same thing. So with his legs, I'm going to start making them in from here. When I get to this section right here, I'm just going to put one little line of the dark blackish gray to make the outline of his leg. Also, one other thing, so before I forget, in case I forget, because 61, is this tail is going to come, I'm going to make it way closer to his body. So I've looked at a couple other pictures, and in some pictures it does show it closer to his body. The reason I'm doing that is because then if I keep it at this length, that's an awful lot of, a lot more translucent we're going to have to use. However, if I can push it in some, then we can kind of angle this translucent where it is here, come around here, and then kind of taper it down. And then it won't take quite as much, because I find with these big projects, I'm definitely using a lot of translucent. All right, so let me go work on this. I'm going to put the first, the black line, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So the way I was going about this, I just wanted to show y'all. I'm filling it in. What I did was I came over here and I put this last piece down so that it's the division of his leg, and I put the dark piece on there, and then I'm going from this side so I can just build to the end, and that way it gives me a better line rather than to have to try to keep remembering where I'm at. This way it shows me where the leg ends, and then I just have this little space to fill in. Okay, I'm back, and now you can see his first leg is complete. Now all we have left is this leg, his feet, and his tail. This leg goes, the line goes here. So I think I'm gonna do, I think I'm just gonna start making a few lines this way to add in. And then when I get to this one, then I'll put the bluish black on top of that. Built up to that point, I don't wanna go all the way to his hand with the line, because I wanna be some differentiation between the legs and the hands. Now the rest is to fill up the rest of this gray. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm so close, but I'm just going to be short by like such a small amount that I'm going to have to mix a little bit more black and the blue and some white, because I don't have any more of the gray I originally used. So wish me luck while I mix some more. Okay, so I made some more. It's probably not exactly perfect, but it's pretty darn close. And what I'm going to do is use it on this outer edge anyway, because technically this is a little darker, so I think I can get away with it. At this point, I'm just going to finish filling this up, which is just basically putting one row after the other, no big deal. And then I'll come back and we'll work on his cute little toes. All right, I'm back. We got him all filled out now. Looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to do the toes. I'm going to move these out of the way so I can get to see the toes better. So if we can zoom in on that a little bit. So it's just going to be basically 3 little toes. I think we can just put the little slits in between. That's just my stuff. We can put the little slits in between them, and then shove them up there. I think we'll probably outline them in the dark brown to give them a little bit more definition. When I start working on those, I'll show you what they look like. Let me just show you what I did here. I made the first little foot. And I think that kind of goes along with his little toes. It's lighter in the middle. So what I decided to do with the lighter, I still had a little piece of this mixed up ends left over. Oh, well, the one without the black anyway. And I try not to get rid of these. If you look over here, I keep a big pile for the scraps from whatever project I'm working on, because you never know what little tiny scraps just like that you're going to be looking for. Anyway, so I took a piece of the light color, I rolled it out. I actually rolled it thin enough so I could make both of the big toes. And then I thinned out the pinkish, dark pink, all the way as thin as I could and wrapped it around there. And then I used the dark pink for the other two toes. And then I covered them in brown like I said I was going to do, just to highlight the feet. And then, okay, so they're a little bit, ouch, taller than they should be, but just going to trim those down a little bit. Add them back to my pile. Put this little fella back where he's supposed to be. And voila, first foot complete. So it may turn out that it looks too funky. If it does, then I'll know for next time to just go straight with the darker colors, but I thought it was kind of a cute one. We'll see what it looks like when it's reduced down. Sometimes things, they'll look great when they're big, don't look so great when they're reduced, and just the opposite. Sometimes things look way better reduced than they do big. So I'm going to do the same thing on the next foot, and all I did to do the definition was run my little tool up here. And then what I think I'm going to do right now, right quick, is I'm going to take a little bit of translucent here, and I'm going to shove it in those little grooves so that I don't lose the grooves. Okay, so all I did was put little triangles. I just rolled it out, a little rolls, and then I made them triangular shapes so you could shove that little point in there. So I think that once we reduce them down, it'll give the effect of little toes. It'll give some definition to them. Then I'm just going to come and I'm going to make these toes over here and do the same thing with the translucent. And we're back with foot number 2. Gonna make my little grooves in here. I made those, by the way, before I put them up before, but sometimes they get a little distorted when you're pushing it on there. And that way it gives me a good idea of where the line should be. Now again, it's a little too tall, which is no big deal because just take it right off. And again, reiterate my little lines. Once again, I'm going to go in and put in some of the translucent to give you an idea. And to do that, you literally just roll a little bit out. I'm very specific, you can see, about my sizes. And make it a little triangle. Doesn't have to be gigantic. It's not a really big thing it's going in. And you're still going to cover everything with more translucent, but this just, let me chop that end off so it's flat at the bottom. This just keeps it from getting completely distorted before you even start working on it, which I have found by experience of some, possible screw ups, that it's worked the best for me. If you have a better idea, hey, I'm open to that too. All right, so that's the first little groove in place. And so like I said in the very beginning, I don't know if you remember, but I don't worry too very much about like the perfection up on here, just because when you go to start reducing it, it's going to change and you're going to lose all that's up front anyway. So it really isn't quite as important, but I still try to, keep it as neat as I can because it gives me a better idea of what I'm doing as I'm doing it. but it's not critical. So if it doesn't look good, don't say, well, you've ruined it and, you know, forget about it, because it's going to be fine. Okay. So there's my little triangle. I'm just going to kind of shove it up in there so it gives it some definition. And then I'm going to come back and put some in between here and all the different spots where it needs it in here, now that the gray is all done. By the way, don't get concerned about that. See if you pull it over to where it's supposed to be right there. Everything's pretty much lined up. Next, I'm going to do the tail. So I'm going to do the tail pretty much, give or take the size that the tail is. But like I said, and it's going to be pretty flexible before I put any translucent around it. So I'm going to kind of make it about that size, but I'm going to come a little bit closer to the body like we talked about before. So I took a little bit of artistic license, but this is what I'm thinking about doing for the tail. I think that that's plenty enough. I am going to wrap it in the brown, just as thin as I can possibly get it, and then going to stick it on there. Then we'll start looking at how we're going to put the translucent to finish it up. So here I just rolled out some brown. I put the tail on there, and I wrapped it end to end. I didn't wrap the part that's going to attach to his body. I just didn't think I wanted to do that. And there, my friends, it would appear that we have a completed Remy. Not too bad, right? Not perfect, but you know, it's not so bad. Anyway, so now I'm going to start putting some of the translucent on. I think his head could be a little straighter. Well, anyway. So now I'm going to put some of the translucent on. You want to stick to having some for sure inside of here so that this tail is going to stay the way you want it to. Basically, what you want to end up with is you want to fill in this part here so that it kind of comes straight across here. You're going to cover this ear. And we're going to kind of come down to where this is filled in here, here, and here, and it's just going to be around there. You're going to fill in this to the feet, fill in this part, and there. Then this side, you really only have a little bit here and a little bit here to fill in, and then you'll be able to put it around his ear and then come straight on down with it. Once I have it built in to where I fill each space in, then I roll out one thin roll, like maybe just a 3 or a 4, probably a 4. And I wrap the whole thing with it so that it stays together really well. Let me get started and put some of these spots in, and I'll come back and periodically show you what it's looking like. Here's a little update on the translucent. I'm getting it pretty good around here. It takes a lot. I end up using a lot more than I want. I tried one time using the translucent scraps when I have to cut them away, because you can't cut them away just translucent like this. This is kind of like my scraps. But then, I don't know, it just looks so funky and you have to cut it out so easily. Anyway, I just decided that's for emergencies when I'm running out of translucent. Anyway, so it's getting there. I still have to cover around the tail and finish these, but I just wanted to give you an update to show you what it looks like. It's kind of a process, but it's well worth it, because if you don't have enough in there, he'll get all distorted. Okay, everybody, there's the finished product. He's pretty cute. We'll see how he looks when he's reduced down, but I think he's kind of cute. And I want to thank y'all for sticking with me through this. I appreciate y'all watching my videos. I hope that you learned something. I hope you have a little fun, because that's what I try to make it kind of fun too. Life's more than just seriousness. And remember, this is Colleen with Colleen's Clay Addiction. And if you want to, it'd be great if you subscribe to my channel. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Postscript to the tutorial. There it is, reduced. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. There's some issues with it, and it's not amazing, but it's probably not the worst cane I've done. So hopefully yours would come out better.